Alright, then so I'm gonna do another reaction video. So this is gonna be a reaction to the Tornado Iceberg Part 1 by Swegle Studios. Alright, let's do this.
Well, 50,000 subs.
Yep.
Thank you so much for subscribing. Tornadoes. That's what we're talking about, alright? In case you didn't know, I'm obsessed with them. And to celebrate 50,000 subs, I thought it'd be pretty sweet to do a Tornado Iceberg video. So that's what we're going to do. This is just a tornadoes in general iceberg video. In case you are unfamiliar with the iceberg meme, the stuff at the very top on the surface and up in the sky, that's like really well-known stuff. People who aren't interested in tornadoes typically know the stuff on the surface. And as you go down, topics become more obscure and a little bit darker. Of course, tornadoes are pretty dark in general, so the whole of this is going to be dark. And of course, I'm sure I missed many tornado topics, and in the future, I want to make an enhanced tornado iceberg. So be sure to share more topics in the comments to feature in a future video. This is just part one because this took way longer than I thought. But yeah, let's get into the video. Starting way up in the sky, we have some really, really obvious tornado topics that I just want to go over really quickly. The first one being tornado versus hurricane. I was talking to a friend recently, and they said, what's the difference between a tornado and a hurricane? And I was like, what? Really? But that's fine. Not everyone.
How could you not know the difference between the two?
I get it. Essentially, a tornado is this. Tornadoes are those columns of air that come down, that descend, and destroy everything in their path. Usually has a condensation funnel. A hurricane, on the other hand, is like a massive tropical storm system that looks like this. And sometimes they can spawn tornadoes, but they're not tornadoes. Okay, moving on to tornadoes versus twisters versus cyclones. The word tornado and the word twister mean the exact same thing. Twister is just a kind of slang term for tornado. Cyclone, on the other hand, can mean the same thing as tornado and twister. In fact, historically, it's meant the same thing. You look at
they used to be called the cyclones back in the day.
Cyclone tears through city. But now they're not really referred to as cyclones. Cyclone can also be a blanket term for any type of swirling storm system. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to the first actual layer, the surface.
Okay.
First topic on the surface is we're not in Kansas anymore. This refers to the tornado
Wizard of
from
Oz.
the Wizard of Oz. Truly an iconic scene that was really well done considering this movie came out in 1939. Depicts Dorothy and her dog Toto as they try to seek shelter in their house. The winds are crazy, the door is flying off the handle. The tornado in the back was actually created by Arnold Gillespie, who was a special effects director for The Wizard of Oz. And he did this by suspending a muslin cloth from a steel gantry. And I've talked about it in previous videos, but yeah, pretty sweet. Moving on. Tornado watch versus tornado warning. Okay, so a tornado watch is a weather alert that covers a large area where the ingredients are favorable for the potential of a tornado. These cover several counties, and they're usually issued well in advance of the actual tornado. A tornado warning, on the other hand, means there's a confirmed tornado or rotation, usually radar indicated, and these polygons represent the areas that are in the tornado warning. If a tornado warning is issued in your area, you need to take shelter immediately, and usually the tornado sirens are going off within the polygon path.
That vortex, though.
Way to visualize this is with
or 4004, whatever it is.
Graphic. As you can see, one has all the ingredients, but the taco has not formed, and in the other, you got a taco. Tornado warning. Speaking of tornado sirens, I just did a video.
Oh, yeah.
What? Tornado sirens are sirens that are used by municipalities to let people know if a tornado is approaching or if there's a potential for a tornado.
Yeah, I reacted to his video about sirens.
Originally, they were designed for nuclear weapons. However, since the Cold War has ended and those aren't as much of a threat anymore, hopefully it stays that way. These are now used for
hopefully
disasters.
Hopefully World War III doesn't happen.
Sometimes tsunamis. These are pretty creepy. I did a video on it. We're moving on.
Yeah, they can be used for anything.
The classic 1996 movie and film, Twister. Very cool. Starring Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, and of course everyone's favorite, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Dusty. The film centers around a storm-chasing team and their evil rivals.
To change all that, with a system that I have devised,
God, he sucks. As they attempt to gather scientific knowledge with their Dorothy probes. Their rivals are in it for the money, while they're in it for the They're in it to save lives. You know, they're the good people. Great movie. There's some huge Twister fans out there.
People just love it. I mean, they can quote the whole movie.
Those cows,
Apparently
though.
there's a sequel in the works. Don't know how they're going to do that without Bill Paxton and Philip Seymour Hoffman, but
Yeah, who knows?
Tornado Alley is a large geographic area of the United States known for its frequent and violent tornadoes.
Yep.
The exact borders of Tornado Alley are debatable, but they usually cover Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, Nebraska, and especially Kansas, Oklahoma, and parts of Texas. Tornadoes tend to form here due to warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico mixed with the cool air from the Rockies, leading to an unstable atmosphere and the creation of supercells. There are other tornado alleys in the United States, and we'll get to those later. Speaking of supercells are massive thunderstorms that contain a mesocyclone and a rotating updraft. These are often referred to as thunderheads.
Good grief, look at that.
Clouds. And these storms have a very high potential for strong and violent tornadoes. Moving on to the Enhanced Fujita Scale, or EF scale. This is a rating scale originally invented by Ted Fujita that classifies tornadoes based on their wind speed, which is measured by the intensity of damage they cause. That's very important. EF1, EF2, EF5, etc. Originally just Fujita or F scale, it was redefined in 2006 after a bunch of meteorological experts did some research and experiments between 2000 and 2004. The scale is a bit controversial, which we'll talk about later in the list, due to the fact that the tornado has to actually cause damage in order to get a high rating. So if you have a massive 400-mile-per-hour wind tornado out in the middle of a field that causes no damage, then it's not going to get a high EF rating, and people don't like that.
Yeah.
Moving on to Storm Chasers. Everyone knows Storm Chasers. There was that hit show on Discovery Channel with the Reed Timmer, Sean Casey, and the Twist X team. Storm Chasers are tornado enthusiasts and professionals who go out and they chase tornadoes. They check in at the Storm Prediction Center. They see a high potential for tornadoes in a specific area. They get in their vehicles. They bring their cameras and they go and try to capture the moment. Moving on. Ah, yes, the Dust Devil movie.
Oh, dear.
The video is not actually real. It was made using CGI, but it went viral back in 2014. And there's a specific part of the video where the guy has this ridiculous face in front of the Dust Devil. Absolutely cursed! And this photo then produced a lot of memes. Also, the YouTube video has 21 million views, so yeah, pretty well known. At this point where the water meets the ocean, we have what I think might be the most well-known tornadic event, and that is the 2011 Joplin EF5 tornado. On
it's a
Sunday,
pretty well-known
May
event.
22nd, 2011, a large tornado tore through the center of Joplin, Missouri, resulting in 161 fatalities and $2.8 billion in damage, making it the costliest single tornado to date. This massive tornado was rain-wrapped and was absolutely tragic and horrifying. Truly a worst-case scenario. It happened on graduation Sunday. Even to this day, Joplin is still recovering. Very tragic event. We're going to move on to the next layer, beneath the surface.
Okay.
Hook echo. Some supercells can produce a hook/pendant-shaped signature on radar caused by reflectivity of rain and hail. This is one of the hallmark signs of a radar-indicated tornado, often issuing a tornado warning, especially when the hook echo forms a debris ball. A few extremely prominent hook echo examples with debris balls include the 2013 Moore and the 2021 Mayfield tornado. When TV meteorologists see these, they know the situation is getting really serious.
Send some prayers to Mayfield right now.
Quick disclaimer, not all tornadoes have hook echoes, and not all hook echoes produce tornadoes. Okay, 2011 super outbreak. The 2011 super outbreak was one of the largest tornado events in the past 50 years plus. Between April 25th and April 27th, 2011, there was a tornado outbreak that spawned over 360 tornadoes, including 4 EF5 tornadoes. Okay, that's insane. 4 EF5 tornadoes.
4 EF5s. Dang, man.
Notable tornadoes from that day were the Hackleburg Phil Campbell EF5, which resulted in 72 fatalities, and the Tuscaloosa Birmingham EF4 tornado, which resulted in 64 fatalities. Overall,
that's probably the most famous of all the 2011 outbreak tornadoes,
which is the costliest on record for a tornado outbreak. Next up, the 2013 El Reno tornado.
Oh, the big boy.
El Reno tornado occurred on May 31st, 2013, and it is known for being the largest tornado ever recorded, at its peak being 2.5 miles wide. This tornado also has some of the fastest wind speeds ever recorded. The tornado resulted in 8 fatalities, many of which were storm chasers. Storm chasers dying in tornadoes is actually quite rare. We will talk more about this tornado further down the list. Next up is tornado season. Tornado season is the time of the year when the most tornadoes occur.
Well, we're pretty much in tornado season right now.
By region, but
it's
usually
March.
lasts between March and July, peaking at the end of May and early June. In the south, tornado season starts a little bit earlier in March and April, and sometimes even February. Tornadoes, of course, can occur any time of the year, including December and January, so you always want to be prepared. EF6. The enhanced Fujita scale only goes up to EF5, but some claim an EF6 monster tornado is possible. Of course, officially an EF6
you never know.
tornado is just a myth and is impossible, although they do mention them a lot in movies.
Is there anything bigger, like an F6?
That's like a nuclear bomb going off.
Canada's only F5. Everyone's favorite
I think the
tornado.
movie
The
Into the
highly
Storm had like a
F5
tornado that was like
occurred on June 22nd,
higher than a
This tornado was
EF5.
extremely powerful and absolutely beautiful, and there were no fatalities. One of the GOAT tornadoes for sure, and it had a ridiculous path. Look at this path. Fun fact,
That's a
it was
weird
also the
path.
last F5 tornado, as Canada wouldn't adopt the EF scale until later. PDS, aka particularly dangerous situation. The best way to describe PDSs are like an enhanced tornado watch, where not only are the ingredients right for a tornado, but they're like super prime.
This is a particularly dangerous situation.
Particularly dangerous situations are also issued for potential tornado outbreaks. These are issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Only 3% of all tornado watches have PDSs. Tornado emergency. So we talked about tornado warnings, which is that there's a confirmed tornado on the ground or signs of a tornado on the ground heading in a general direction. Well, a tornado emergency is like taking that one step further. Think of it as there's definitely a tornado on the ground. It's definitely a strong tornado, and this strong tornado is heading towards a populated area.
From the National Weather Service, a tornado emergency now in effect for Greensburg in Kiowa County.
They're pretty rare. The first one ever was during the 1999 Bridge Creek Moore tornado. So if we go back to the taco meme, tornado watch has the ingredients, tornado warning has a taco, and a tornado emergency has someone eating the taco. Dixie Alley. Dixie Alley is the slightly less known but very active southern version of Tornado Alley. This encompasses Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Georgia. Some people think that Dixie Alley is a relatively new thing, but it's definitely not. I mean, Birmingham has been hammered by several huge F5 tornadoes forever. The reason why Dixie Alley has a lesser known reputation than Tornado Alley is because Dixie Alley is not a great place to spot tornadoes. There's a lot of hills, there's a lot of forests, unlike the plains, which are open and you can see from a far ways away. So if you're a storm chaser, you want to go to the traditional tornado alley because it's just going to be easier to see a tornado there. Usually people in Dixie Alley actually hear the tornado before they see the tornado, which is terrifying. Tornadoes in
that's not good.
So this is just the fact that tornadoes seem to be an American weather anomaly. Of course, tornadoes happen all over the world. Many occur in the UK, Germany, and France, and Italy. And we'll talk more about how they occur in a big...
Yeah, they don't just happen in the US. They happen anywhere.
But yes, a vast majority of them do occur in the USA. You can thank
most of them happen here.
The 1925 Tri-State tornado.
Oh, yeah.
This is the single deadliest tornado in U.S. history with 695 confirmed fatalities. This is part of a larger outbreak that occurred on March 18th, 1925. This particular F5 tornado traveled from southern Missouri all the way up to Indiana, over 219 miles. This also makes it the longest tornado track. It's a truly horrific event, and let's hope this remains the deadliest tornado in U.S. history for a very long time. The tornado, river, and valley myth refers to the idea that some people believe tornadoes can't occur within valleys, or they can't cross rivers, or whatever. Some people think if a city is surrounded by a river, it's protected by tornadoes. Not true. Not true at all.
Yeah, tornadoes can still cross through rivers.
The Canadian River. Tornadoes been crossing that thing forever. And hills obviously don't affect tornadoes at all. Just look at Dixie Alley. Lots of hills, lots of tornadoes. We're moving on. The Moore, Oklahoma F5 tornado. So Moore, Oklahoma is a bit of a tornado magnet, and it has featured some of the most infamous tornadoes in history. Recently, in 2013, the May 20th Newcastle Moore tornado had 24 deaths and did $2 billion worth of damage. And even more well known is the May 3rd, 1999 Bridge Creek Moore tornado. This tornado had 36 fatalities and did $1 billion of damage. These are two of the most famous tornadoes in U.S. history, and they both hit the southern Oklahoma City suburb of Moore. Pretty crazy. If you're going to move to Moore, maybe you shouldn't. The Ray, Colorado tornado was an EF2 tornado that occurred on May 7th, 2016. And it is known for the absolutely amazing footage captured by Reed Timmer and other storm chasers. It's actually one of the most viewed tornado videos on YouTube. I mean, just look at this thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Speaking of well-known tornado footage, the McConnell Air Force Base tornado footage is a famous, extremely close-up video of a tornado shot at McConnell Air Force Base on April 26, 1991. This tornado was part of the Andover, Kansas tornado outbreak, and this video has been featured in many tornado documentaries. The 1991 Andover tornado outbreak occurred at a time when camcorders were very popular, so this particular tornado was very well documented, including some other famous footage done by Duke Evans. Now, I'm not exactly sure who filmed McConnell Air Force Base footage, so please let me know in the comments if you know who filmed this.
I don't know who filmed it.
AKA Tornado Intercept Vehicles. These are specialized vehicles capable of withstanding extreme tornadic winds, specifically with the goal of filming or capturing data from the inside of a tornado. Originally made famous by Sean Casey and his goal of intercepting a tornado for his IMAX film. Reed Timmer also has his own tornado intercept vehicle known as the Dominator. Reed Timmer showed off the Dominator on Jay Leno's Garage. I might do a video on these specifically in the future, but now we're going to move on to Layer 3, Deeper Waters.
Okay. Oh boy.
Mike Morgan, Gary England, and James Spann are three iconic TV weathermen known for covering major tornadoes over the course of their careers. Gary England, now retired, and Mike Morgan.
I'm more familiar with
Oklahoma
James
City
Spann.
area, while James Spann covers Alabama. They are well known by tornado enthusiasts beyond their immediate viewing area for their excellence in covering dozens of tornado events, including the 1999 and 2013 Moore tornadoes and the 2011 Tuscaloosa-Birmingham tornado. Get Up Under the Girders refers to the April 26, 1991 tornado overpass footage. This footage is extremely famous, and many people have seen it in their classrooms or in documentaries. It's captured by a news crew as they're being
I don't think I've ever
chased
seen
down
this.
by an F2 tornado. As they're being chased down, they take shelter up beneath an overpass.
Get up under the girders!
This video is responsible for people believing that overpasses are safe spaces during tornadoes, when in
I beg
reality,
to differ
they're
on
very
that claim.
dangerous. So yeah, you should not get underneath an overpass, especially when the tornado goes over the overpass and the wind.
If you're outside
ridiculous.
in a place like this, a ditch is like the best place for you, because the winds aren't too strong
Very
at
iconic
that
footage
point.
for sure. The Joplin live coverage tornado sirens refers to the Anderson Cooper live coverage of the Joplin tornado aftermath. As he's talking about the aftermath, the sirens begin to sound around him, and it's kind of just a well-known YouTube video.
The sirens are actually now going off here. There's been concern all day about an approaching storm.
The 1997 Gerald, Texas Dead Man Walking tornado. This refers to a very famous tornado photo. On May 27th, 1997, a huge F5 tornado hit the town of Gerald, Texas. And what's unique about this tornado is it actually went in the opposite direction of most tornadoes. This tornado is very well known for a famous photo called the Dead Man Walking. This photo initially became famous after it was featured in a documentary. I mean, obviously, the photo is ridiculous. It looks scary as heck. It looks like there's some sort of monster walking into Gerald, which is true. I mean, that tornado really was a monster, and it was one of the most powerful
it was a
tornadoes
flippin'
ever
monster.
recorded. Probably the most famous tornado photo, or one of the most famous tornado photos. Will Norton, aka Wildebeest, is a
Yeah, I know
YouTuber
about
from
this.
Joplin, Missouri, who is one of the more well-known fatalities from that day. Will Norton passed away when its vehicle was struck by an EF5 tornado while he was driving home from his own graduation. I mentioned more about him in my Joplin Fatalities map video. I've been watching many of his videos actually throughout the last few days. And
Yeah, I've
he
seen
seems
his
like a
YouTube
really
channel.
cool guy. Like, he just seems really down to earth, really funny. It's really unfortunate that his life was taken at such a young age. Rest in peace, Wildebeest. Tornado
Yeah.
Alley moving east. This refers to the idea that Tornado Alley appears to be moving more to the east compared to where it has historically been. This is due to the fact that in the past 4 decades there have been less tornadoes in the traditional tornado alley, and actually more tornadoes a little to the east. Some very recent examples include the 2020 Nashville tornado and the 2021 Mayfield tornado. Some experts blame climate change, while others still aren't quite sure what's going on. So, is it moving
I'm
to
from like
east?
I'm more
Perhaps.
east
Guess we'll see
from
what happens
Tornado
on the long
Alley.
term.
I'm
What are your
from
thoughts?
Ohio,
The
so
EF5 drought.
yeah.
So the 2013 Newcastle Moore tornado was actually the last recorded EF5 tornado on record. That means that it has been almost 10 years since the last rated EF5 tornado. Technically, this means that no tornado has caused EF5 damage. So while large and strong tornadoes have occurred since 2013, there have officially been none that have been classified as an EF5. This is pretty insane considering that 2011 had 6 EF5 tornadoes. 6 of them.
Yeah.
You're currently in the longest recorded EF5 drought, which is good. I mean, come on, we don't want EF5 tornadoes to occur.
Yeah.
The last EF5 drought before the current one was actually between 2007 and 1999. The Pilger twin tornadoes refers to another legendary tornado event that occurred on June 16th, 2014, near the town of Pilger, Nebraska. This event featured 2 twin EF4 tornadoes, an extremely rare event that I would have paid so much to see. Unfortunately, each tornado took 1 life. It's crazy to have twin tornadoes. It's even crazier to have extremely strong twin EF4 tornadoes. Definitely an iconic event remembered by many. A Reno was an EF3, refers to the fact that the largest tornado and one of the strongest tornadoes ever was only classified as an EF3, even though many believe it is or should be an EF5. The topic is quite
It should be a flippin'
amongst
EF5.
tornado enthusiasts because it seems strange that we have such a low rating. But remember, the EF scale is based off of damage, and the El Reno tornado, fortunately, really didn't cause much damage. There was a little bit of damage, but not enough to warrant an EF5 rating. Nocturnal tornadoes refers to, well, tornadoes that occur at night. These are very feared by many for good reason. You can't see them coming.
That's
and
Night
they
of the
occur while you're
Twisters.
sleeping. And for this reason, they're actually twice as deadly compared to their daytime counterparts.
Yeah, because you can't even see them. So you don't know where it is until it's too late.
Nocturnal tornadoes are actually rare, as most tornadoes occur in the late afternoon or early morning. The 2007 Greensburg, Kansas tornado is one of the most destructive EF5s in the past 20 years. Occurring on May 4th, 2007, the tornado struck the small Kansas town of Greensburg, killing 13 and nearly wiping the town off the map. Virtually every building in Greensburg was destroyed. This
I have seen a little bit of like the
an
documentary
meteorite,
of
which was
Greensburg.
lost
Good grief, look at that damage.
caused the town's population to cut in half. Truly a terrible event. Also iconic is Dave Freeman's coverage of this tornado. The
Tornado Siren
1974
YouTuber
super
Charlie
outbreak
Davidson
was
recorded a
one
little
of the
bit of it
largest
on his
tornado
channel.
outbreaks ever recorded. Overall, there were 148 confirmed tornadoes causing 319 deaths and $5 billion worth of damage, adjusted for inflation. Overall, there were 7 EF5 tornadoes. 7. Like I said, we're in an EF5 drought, and there was 7 during the super outbreak. Insane. Some notable examples include the Gwynn, the Brandenburg, the Xenia, and the Tanner tornadoes. Indiana gets its fair share of tornadoes, and technically it's not part of the traditional tornado alley, and technically it's not part of Dixie Alley. It's kind of, in between the two, a little bit to the right, but yeah, it's got its own alley. Hoosier, how do you say that? Hoosier? Bangladesh,
I don't know how to say
Pakistan,
it.
and India refers to the idea that other than the U.S., there seems to be another tornado hotspot near eastern India and Bangladesh and Pakistan. In fact, the deadliest tornado of all time killed over 1,300 individuals. This occurred in 1989. The KFOR live coverage of the 1999.
I honestly wish there was footage of it, because I would love to see what it looked like.
Moments ever. Mike Morgan, along with
Same thing with the Tri-State tornado.
Excellent job covering this story.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most well-known part of the live broadcast is the scene where they showed the more exit sign, and you can see horizontal vortices being filmed. Mike Morgan is literally speechless.
Go get safe.
Yeah, that is a lot of debris. Good grief, man.
Mayfield should have been an EF5. There are many amongst the tornado enthusiast community that believe that the December 10th, 2020 Western Kentucky EF4 tornado should have been declared as an EF5. It can be quite controversial, especially when you bring up the EF5 drought I spoke about earlier. Of course, the surveys were done by
I always felt like
professionals who know what they're
EF5 was
doing, so I want to
EF5 and EF5 were based on like
What do you
tornado
think? Think Enfield
size.
should have been an EF5? Flying cows refers to a famous tornado trope of cows being picked up and thrown by tornadoes, mostly because people put farms and tornadoes together due to their frequent appearance in the U.S. plains. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
TVS, or tornado vortex signature. This refers to velocity.
Maybe F5 is
related
just based
rotation,
on
which can help
size,
pinpoint
and
the
EF5 is
exact
based on
location of a
damage.
tornado. Reds, which represent winds flowing away from the radar site, and greens, which represent winds moving toward the radar station. And when these bright reds and bright greens are close to each other, it can signify a storm's rotation. These, along with hook echoes and debris balls, can indicate the tornado's location. All You Can Do Is Pray refers to the iconic Tuscaloosa tornado live coverage by James Spann from ABC 35.
Yeah.
James Spann is watching the Tuscaloosa sky cam, and he is just absolutely speechless as a mile-wide tornado is occurring right before his eyes. You know, James Spann is like, wow, this is really a terrible situation. And he doesn't know what to say, so he just goes, all you can do is pray.
Look at that. Goodness gracious. This will be a day that will go down in state history. And all you can do is pray for those people.
Yeah.
Tornadoes sound like trains. So this is the
They really do.
Tornadoes sound like
I've watched the
trains.
Andover, Kansas tornado, and
Train kind of has this low rumble to
at least
it.
one
People
video
say
of
that's
it, and
exactly what tornadoes sound like
it really
on
does
the
sound like
distance
one.
as they approach. Here's an example. Very eerie, especially if you live in Dixie Alley where you can't see them coming, especially at night.
Yeah.
When you can't see them coming. So yeah, tornadoes sound like trains. And that concludes part 1 of our Tornado Iceberg video. Be sure to subscribe. Part 2 is coming out in a week. Thanks again
Okay.
for 50,000 subs. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me, you can on my Instagram page or from my email.
I think Swegle had like
I'm so thankful for
at least
y'all.
over 20k when I first subscribed to them. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for my reaction to the Tornado Iceberg Part 1 by Swegle Studios. So, I hope you all enjoyed the reaction. The link to the original video will be in the description below if you'd like to check it out. And I'll see you guys next time.